Hello everyone, this is the start of the series called Bug Bounty Field Notes, where I will be going over every single report I submit, whether it was non-applicable, dupe, informative, paid. I will be covering every single report I submit, going over how I found it, my methodology, the steps to reproduce. Obviously will be disclosed, make sure I'm not showing anything I shouldn't be, will be sanitized. But this way you guys will see exactly what I'm doing, exactly where I'm at, what works, what doesn't, and what you should be avoiding, what you should be doing, things like that. And also just be a great way for me to document my progress. So in episode 1, we're actually going to have 3 bugs because I found 3 bugs in a single day on BugCrowd on a single target. And they all got marked non-applicable. So rather than getting mad, I decided to go ahead and write up this for you guys so you guys can see everything that I did. I'm going to go over this, but this kind of, it's kind of boring. It's just a Google Doc. So I transferred it into a Google slideshow and I'm going to be reading it. Go ahead and lower this about here. And I'm going to get into the slideshow. So Bug Bounty Field Notes, Episode 1, Reusable Tokens and Reauth Confusion. Episode Overview, 3 real reports, 1 day, all marked non-applicable, and here's what I learned. Reusable password recovery token, single-use token accepted multiple times, reusable email change token, reauthentication confusion. So, report 1, reusable password recovery token. Summary, a temporary password recovery token intended for single use remained valid and could be reused to repeatedly trigger password reset emails. Steps to reproduce, I navigated to account, password recovery, initiate a password reset request, intercept outbound request via proxy, copy recovery token from request body, restart recovery flow, and replace the new token with the old one. Observe multiple password reset emails being sent. So how I went about finding this is I had just recently read a Medium article about this guy who got paid $600 for a race condition where all he did was he realized that the single session token was not single session like it said it was. So I just started testing it through flows that was the same way. And that's how I found this in the first place. Expected behavior, recovery tokens should be single use, reuse of consumed tokens should be rejected server side. Actual, same token remain valid after use, backend accepted reuse tokens without error. Okay, YNA and lessons. Marked non-applicable. No account takeover privilege escalation was shown. No rate limit or throttling bypass was demonstrated. Impact classified as email spam / UX abuse rather than security issue. Teaching point. Reusable tokens aren't automatically a vulnerability. The real impact determines triage. And because we're on since we're on BugCrowd, they care a lot more about victim impact rather than just security concerns. Like this would have had a way higher probability of getting paid out on like HackerOne, Synac, or a private VDP. All right, bug 2, reusable email change authorization. Summary, an email change flow issued a temporary authorization token meant for single sensitive action. This token was not invalidated and could be reused to perform multiple email updates. It's pretty much the same as the password one. Navigate, intercept, set, replace, do it again. Expected tokens should be single use. Each sensitive action requires a fresh token. That's not actually the case. So once again, basically found the same thing. So I was like, bet, submit it again, double the pay. I got double the non-applicables. But lessons, these are always important. Action required authenticated access, no authenticated exploit. No cross-account impact was demonstrated. No bypass of ownership verification was shown. Teaching point, a flaw can be real but still not rewardable. Context and impact drive bounty decisions. See, this is what I was talking about. Like, HackerOne would have had a higher chance of getting accepted, but BugCrowd cares more about exploit and impact to victims. You need to take that in mind. But all right, I have one more thing to say at the end, but I'll save that for the end. Okay, third report. This one, I actually thought this would be accepted. Out of all of them, I really thought this one was going to be the one that was most likely to get accepted. But this was interesting. Read this. Reauthentication confusion. Summary. A sensitive email change endpoint performed reauthentication using credentials supplied in the request body rather than binding them to the authenticated session. Credentials from a second account could satisfy the check. Steps to reproduce. Log into account A, initiate an email change. Intercept the email change request. Modify the reauth fields to contain credentials from account B. Forward request and refresh account A's settings. Observe the account A's email has been changed. So you might not understand exactly what it is because I didn't include all of it. Let me explain in greater detail. Basically, this is account A, I use account B's creds. So I use account B's email and account B's password in the request body, and it still changed the email for account A, even though I use account B's credentials, all because account A still had its access token, and vice versa. If you used account B's access token with account A's email and password, it still would have changed. But the triagers, they don't, that's not something they pay out for. They don't even accept it. It's just not applicable. But I really thought this was very interesting to me. Expected. Reauth credentials must match the current session user. Email changes should require verification of new address. Actual. Credentials from another account satisfy the check. Email change applied immediately without binding. Why NA and LAN lessons? Why non-applicable? Both accounts were under tester control, no attacker-victim scenario. No demonstrated separation of ownership or exploitation path. Viewed as self-inflicted / same owner testing. Because to do this, you would still need two accounts. And if you already have the victim's email passwords, then what's the point? You can already log in and stuff. So this is just a security issue, which oftentimes bug crowd, from my knowledge, this is my knowledge, could be wrong, they don't care as much about that. Teaching point. Security bugs don't exist in a vacuum. Context and threat model matter. Okay, so key takeaways. Always understand token life cycles. Prove why reuse matters. Context matters. Authenticated flows and self-tests often lead to NA. Impact determines triage. Demonstrate real-world attack scenarios. Document clear, reproducible steps to educate viewers and triagers. So, in this video, this is episode 1 of the series. I'm going to be this is going to be a very long series. It's going to be awesome. I'm really excited about the series. We're going to be going over lots of reports, but yeah. So I submitted 3 bugs. They were all non-applicable. Was I mad? Not really. More than that, I was just happy that I was able to find 3 security issues that, let's be real, they were valid. They were valid concerns, even though they weren't accepted. I'm happy that as a bug bounty hunter, I'm able to find issues in web applications, and I'm getting faster. I'm finding more and more. My average is getting up. I'm doing a lot better. So hopefully you took something away from episode 1 of Bug Bounty Field Notes. And if you liked the video, subscribe, because this is going to be a long series. And that's it.